I'm glad to go first. So I alluded to my connection to the community. I talked a little bit about my past. Knowing why somebody would do like this for this high-paying job of, I don't even know how much the mayor makes. Anybody know?
Enough to buy a cup of coffee.
So, but not the coffee shop. And so, you know, at this point in my life, in my career, I feel like I've learned a lot through my younger years. And as I grew older, I began to apply that to practical application and participate and work in the community. And I'm just a few years older than Andy. And no one's asked me about age, so I didn't get to use my Ronald Reagan quote. But the reason I'm doing this is because, again, it's knowing that my family also participated in community service. You know, my grandfather was a justice of the peace, not in Park City, but in Midvale. And my other great-grandfather was a Methodist minister at 525 Park Avenue. My grandmother, great-grandmother, grandmother again, taught school in the Jefferson School. And that connection to the past is very meaningful to me. It just makes me shudder to think of the responsibility that I have continuing forward in this government and the policies of our community. Having children, knowing that they are our future, knowing that what we do now in the next 4 years could affect their ability to even participate in our community, because it's getting more and more difficult. I've seen seniors move out of our town. You know, Rich and Helen Alvarez left our community as they downscaled. Two of the brightest, most wonderful, meaningful people that added a lot of quality and depth and maturity to our community. And so I feel that we're growing the wrong way. And I think it's important that we have a mayor that can hold us to these values that we cherish. And I know that every decision that will be made in the next few years has in its roots planning. And the planning that needs to happen in our community, dealing with the growth pressures and the issues that we face, has to be done in a way that is both practical, economical, structural. It has all the infrastructure, all the components of building that I've been dealing with my whole life. And the way that that comes together, and the way we knit our community together, and the way we grow, also has to be done beautifully and creatively. And I call that the art and the science of planning. And I think that's what I bring to the table and to this process. And I sincerely ask for your vote in this next coming election. And I've enjoyed these interactions with a very wonderful man to my left here. And if one of us is lucky enough to win and the other lose, I know we're celebrating together. We agreed to toast each other at the end of this process. So thanks for your time and consideration.
Nice job, Jack. And I do want to take a moment and thank you for all your service to the community. I know you're coming up at the end of your term on Planning Commission, and you've served us well for the 8 years you've been there, and thank you very much for everything you've done. So, shortly after I was elected to City Council, I was out walking my dog and ran into a longtime Old Town resident. And she walked up to me and she said, "Andy, we're so happy to have elected you to council, but please, don't screw it up." And my first thought was, whoa. And then I got to thinking about what she meant. We talked about it a little further, and she wasn't talking about screwing up the opportunity. What she was really talking about is what a special place we have in Park City, and how that place has evolved and it continues to get better and better. And it's incumbent upon everybody that gets elected here to be a good steward and to make sure that you leave it a little bit better than it was when you started it. There's been a lot of talk about what we need, and certainly there's an argument that we could use some planning. Planning is one of the many great skills you could potentially bring to this job. Anybody that's going to be mayor is going to bring a different variety of skills. I believe the job's going to need something more broad-based. I think the mayor is not a position where you get terribly technical. By the time it comes to you, it's relatively cooked. It's gone through the staff, the planning commission, council works on it. You need to be able to build consensus. And I think there are a couple of things I bring to this job. One of them is going to be direct experience. I know this job because I've been sitting next to the mayor for the last 2 years. I've been learning from the mayor, and I've been watching these challenges evolve. The challenges that the council faces. I've also built the relationships that are necessary. A lot of the pressures we're facing right now are complex and they're regional. They're things like water, open space, the environment and transportation. And those are things we can't deal with as just a city. We can't be insular on these. We have to reach out and deal with Summit County. We need to deal with the state. We need to deal with the Wasatch Front. And those are all areas that I've been involved with, and I've built those relationships. So I will be prepared. And then the last thing is next generation. I came to Park City before we got the Olympics, back when there were only 3 stoplights. And I've been here and I've seen what I think is part of the old Park City. It certainly wasn't the 60s or 70s or the 80s, but I feel like I knew what it was like when it was a small resort town. It was a very seasonal economy. Now I've seen it grown to be an international destination. And so I believe I have a solid foot in the past and the future. And I believe bringing the problem-solving skills and the attitude and the energy of the next generation, I could be a great transition candidate. I would be honored to be your mayor. I would work very hard at it, and I would be very, very careful to protect the special town we have.
Thank you all for coming tonight. I think it's been a great forum between our candidates, and I believe they made it difficult for you because we've got 2 tremendous candidates here tonight. Before you leave, I'd like to bring up Charles Robinson one more time to give you a preview of the next project.